Hello, welcome to the Mediocre Takes podcast, the podcast where we share our mediocre takes on the shows and movies we watch. I'm Marco and here is my co-host Mel. How are you doing, Mel?
I hate being employed.
Honestly, I would relate, but I am currently not employed, so that's just silly of me.
But did you hate being employed when you were?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
did.
So you get me.
Yes, I do. Anyways, today we're continuing our Batman marathon slash tiny retrospective. For this episode, we're going to talk about Mystery of the Batwoman. And I predicted that Mel would not like this movie, and I was right. And I just am happy that I'm right. So yeah, let's just get into it. So I'm not going to go into too much into what happens before this movie. Just know that it takes place after Batman the Animated Series and before Batman Beyond. In this movie, a new Bat person named Batwoman has come into town, which gives Batman some grief. He eventually finds out that Batwoman is actually three different people who all have been done dirty by the Penguin and his people in some way. Eventually, they all somehow don't get punished for what they did, but in exchange, they give up their capes. So I like the twist that Batwoman is actually three people at the same time. Like, that's actually something I found to be really good. I don't know, something about it. I'm bad with twists, okay? So I did not see this coming.
Did you like the execution of the twist?
What do you mean?
Did you like the lead up to it? Did you like how each character's storyline was written?
I feel like the detective one wasn't as good as the other two. However, I did like the other two storylines a lot.
One of my many issues with this movie is that there are a lot of characters thrown into this movie, and these bitches were given 5 to 10 minutes of screen time to establish their characters and their motives, and that was not enough for me. Especially since I don't know a lot about the three new female characters that are introduced in this film.
I think one of them is a reference to another character, however, they're not like from different stories of the Batman universe.
I think the difference between the execution of this and something like Mask of Phantasm is with that one, it was one new character, and we got enough time with her to where I sort of feel like we were familiar with her enough to the point where, like, both of us were like, oh, we really like this character. She's really cool. With this, it was just too much, and I didn't really feel anything for any character. I just didn't feel like there was enough time for me to care about any of the characters. Especially, what was her name? What was it? Sonya? I think she got like the least screen time. I think the execution of the twist was shit because there genuinely I feel like was not enough time to make it mean something.
Was Sonya the detective?
Yeah.
I agree with you. She definitely didn't get enough screen time. The other two I felt like were enough, but Sonya wasn't. Other than that, how did you feel about the twist in general?
I don't know because well, initially I was angry. I feel like a toddler about to throw a tantrum. I don't know. The execution of the plot twist made me angry. And I feel like if they wanted to go with the whole, oh, it's 3 in 1, I just feel like they could have done something different. I don't know. And I think the added romance just makes me angrier. And I don't know. I just feel like I would have rather had like another retelling of Kate Kane's Batwoman than this.
Okay, so I found this very strange. I thought that Barbara, also known as Batgirl, was like around the same age as Bruce or like a little bit younger. But in this movie, they're like, yeah, Barbara's in college. And I did some research, and apparently she already graduated college like in this timeline, or she was about to graduate college in this timeline. I just found it strange that like she was like in college, graduated, came back to college. It felt very strange. I don't know. What I find even more strange about this is that the writers made it seem like they were kind of dating, or at least they used to date. That was strange. Like, not the college girl.
That whole thing in the beginning where Barbara calls Bruce, first of all, ew, that's so gross. But also, literally, I know that the only reason they added that into this was because in Batman Beyond, they like confirmed that Barbara and ew, that's so gross. That Barbara and Bruce were a thing. Ew. And they were just like, oh, you know what we should do? We should just like add this thing in the beginning. Oh my fucking god. It's so stupid and it makes me so angry. Also, like, but like, it's not even like, like, the fact that it was only included just to have that sort of like confirmed continuity is so fucking stupid because it adds absolutely nothing to the story, especially since they're showing a new romance between Kathy and Bruce. So like why have that in the beginning? We lose nothing if you cut that out. It's so frustrating. Anyway, continue.
I really love the animation of this movie. The penguin being here was a surprise. Was it a good surprise? No. But it was a surprise, I guess. Rocky was my favorite between the Batwoman of the three, I think. At least at the moment. One of my favorite lines was when she implied that Bruce might have a boyfriend, which was like kind of silly of her. I kind of think that she said that on purpose, at least in my head. That's my like headcanon and stuff. Also, I really like her plotline where she tries to prove her boyfriend's innocence. I felt like that one was the strongest out of all of them. However, I can see people saying like Kathy's plotline was the strongest. However, personally, I just like Rocky better. Even though Rocky is my favorite, I still like these three women a lot. Most of them were fleshed out characters, which was really good in my opinion. I wish the movie had like a more focus on them. Even though it did have a focus on them, it just needed to be longer and needed more of these characters. Okay, so about the music. So in the bar, there's this one song where this lady is just singing at the bar, or like it's a club or something, and usually I wouldn't find this weird, but she was just like staring at the camera or something. It felt and looked very weird for me. I don't know, it just seemed to stick out in my opinion. I don't like Batwoman's design. Ma, what's your opinion on Batwoman's design?
Yeah, that was so interesting that you think that because I kind of like this Batwoman suit. I think the only issue I had with it was there's like an appearance of lipstick on the face, which is 100% certified goofy. The thing that I liked about it was that it was silver, which matched the sort of metallic creation or whatever that Roxy
The
made.
alloy? I think it was an
Yeah,
alloy.
I like that. So overall, I like the suit.
Really, I kind of didn't like the silver. It just looked weird in my opinion. I don't know, something about it. Okay, so I get for long running Batman fans, this movie and Return of the Joker caused a good amount of continuity errors, but honestly, I did not care for the most part, I guess. I honestly do count the Batman animated series and Batman Beyond to be their own things, like their own continuities, because if I just tried to like create a timeline with all of these with this movie Batman Beyond and Return of the Joker and everything, I don't know. I don't know what how I would create a timeline with all that. It just seems like it'd be a really confusing time, and I just tried to not care. So yeah.
As they say in the streets, I ain't touching that one, Alfred said. What I would give to hear that man speak AAV. I love when Bullock was like, "What's next? A bat hound?" When he first found out that there was a Batwoman, because, like, yes, canonically, there is a bat dog. Okay, I know I said I didn't like the romance between Bruce and Andrea in Mask of Phantasm, but this movie made me miss it. Like, I want to go back to simpler times. Just the romance in this did not hit the same because, well, they already complicated it with Barbara, and then also we just didn't get enough time to really establish a relationship that someone could care about. The scene where one of the goons walked into Kathy's room, stared at Batman, and then just walks out. That I think that was like that and the Alfred scene were like the only two funny scenes in this film. The only two scenes where I was like, "Oh, okay, that was pretty good." Also, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this. But I kind of wish like Sonia and Roxy were a thing. Now stay with me. I feel like it would have made this movie much more interesting. Okay, imagine if Roxy had a brother in prison instead and Sonia and Roxy, made like heart eyes at each other and they had like more than friendly amount of hand contact and it would have made sense with how they all got together because we find out that Sonia was the one who introduced Roxy and Kathy, like she was the middle lady. So just like I don't know, like I feel like just like, what if they kissed or something, you know? If I feel like I bring up a possible lesbian relationship a lot, but there was something there that they could have worked with, and they didn't, and that makes me kind of sad.
Anyways, I disagree with Mouth on most points. I really did like this movie. I do agree with you on some points about like they need to flesh out the characters more, and I do also agree with you. It would be cool if the two of them were dating. Yeah, I personally like this. I still don't like Batwoman's design. The Barbara and Bruce scene was really weird, and the fact that they even mentioned that was strange. I don't know what the writers are thinking with that one. I was watching this whole video earlier before Mal and I started recording about the strange relationship Bruce and Barbara have. So the more I think about it, the more I'm like, what were these people thinking? And yeah, I just like this movie.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the fuck these goons were thinking with this film, but it was very upsetting to watch. This shit was written like actual fan fiction. I have no idea what they were trying to accomplish with this movie. It's actually kind of embarrassing that this is one of the last installments in the DCAU. We started off so strong, and it all just went to shit. For me, at least. I have a feeling that some of my opinions are not popular. But this film was just so busy. There were too many players involved, and it made it so hard to really get invested in literally anyone. The one nice thing I have to say about this was the soundtrack was kind of nice. Like that song in the lounge, I don't know, it kind of slayed.
Before we go into the mediocre minute, I have a question for you. I've been asking you this question every episode of Batman. If you had to predict where on the rankings this would go, where would you rank it?
So I will have to be like sub ranking my rankings, as in their placement on the letter will also matter. And I have to say, this is like well, this is definitely a D. This is so, I mean, it's so tough because there are things that I really hate about this, and there's also things I really hate about Mask of Phantasm. I don't know which one would be first. I'll have to really think about this, but it's definitely in D.
I thought you gave Mask on Phantasm S.
Oh, wait, what did I say? Sorry, I meant Return of the Batman.
You mean Return of the Joker?
Sorry, Return of the Joker. Dude, it was too many movies.
Yeah, you gave Return of the Joker D now that I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, bad movie. But I just don't know. This one's also bad, so I don't know which one's badder yet. I'll have to think about it.
I'd probably give this one like a around the B or C area. I'm not sure yet. What?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god, don't
Okay.
judge me.
Okay. No, no, no. We're still really early in the Batman animated films. So
Yeah, that's true. And I haven't watched any of these movies before, so
it'll be really interesting to see how your final scores will look like. It's a true mystery to me how this script got made into a movie. But what isn't a mystery is what comes next after our final thoughts. That's right, it's time for the Mediocre Minute. This is a tiny little micro moment where me and Marco recommend books, comics, music, games, and more for you all to check out. My recommendation is the comic Batgirls. As of recording this, I'm on issue 17, I think. Honestly, this is kind of a friendship is magic comic, and I know I talked about this before about writers not being able to write platonic friendships between two same-gendered characters, but the writers nailed it in this comic. Like, the friendship between Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown is so good, and I've liked all of the storylines so far. I will say the end of issue 15 really took me for a surprise. Also, Barbara Gordon is in this comic and she's normal. She is with the appropriately aged Dick Grayson in this series, and I could not be happier. Marco, what is your recommendation?
I love the fact that you mentioned appropriately aged. My recommendation is Welcome to Our Open Tabs. So I believe these are two booktubers. I know one of these booktubers from booktube, obviously. Their name is Jess Owens. I recommend them as well. She and then one of her friends created a podcast called Welcome to Our Open Tabs, which is basically like anything they're like researching at the moment, also known as their open tabs, I guess. So some of my favorite episodes are Sister Wives. That's wild, by the way. Sister Wives is wild. Like, they go over a bunch of TikTok controversy, like Woolen folk. Some other ones I don't remember off the top of my head. They talk about Elon Musk, all of that kind of shit. And yeah, that's my recommendation. Anyways, you guys, that's our thoughts on Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. If you want to send us a voice message on Spotify for podcasters, there'll be a link in the description to do so below. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, which are I'm a Take Spot, and that's everything. So, goodbye.